Yes, finally.
So, as people who have watched my last two videos know, I finally got a new metal lathe.
Wah, ha, ha.
And built a nice stand for it. And now it's time to finally start restoring this thing and get it all calibrated. I don't think I need to do much with it, since the last guy who used it took great care of it and really knew what he was doing with it. I'll probably just need to clean up some of the dust, snug up some of the dovetails, and possibly even replace some of the grease. By the way, I'm not a mechanic, so I might be butchering the lathe without even knowing it. And by the time you guys start screaming in the comments, it might already be too late. This part looks interesting, so let's start here. Oh yes, before taking it any further than a vacuum cleaner, best to take a photo. And now I can start taking it apart, which is always exciting. Damn, the electric box is actually the dustiest place on the lathe. Okay, I think that's as far as I'm going to go with this part of the lathe. And now I'm going to use some WD-40 and then wipe down all the parts that I just taken out. So I just finished wiping it down with oil and now it is sparkling clean. At least the headstock is. And now I can start putting it back together and hopefully I'll know where everything goes back. And with that, the front of the lathe is finally complete. And now I can move on to the carriage, which should be a lot more fun. But before moving on, I probably should drill out the holes for mounting it down to the cabinet. The back hole is fairly easy, I just need to move out the tailstock. But for the front, I'll probably need to remove the 3-drawer chuck to actually access it. Yeah, it's still blocked from view, but it's a lot better now. Oh boy, here we go. This knob is jammed, so I'm not sure what's happening with this one. And it looks like these two bolts hold this part together, so let's take that apart. Another one of the hex nuts. So it's still held on by the half nut that's connected to the threaded rod, so I have to undo these bolts here. Not even sure whether it's even possible to take it off without taking the threaded rod off, but now at least I can see what the heck is going on. Now this part is loose and the only bit that's connected to the threaded rod is actually this nut. And this nut is connected to the carriage by 4 bolts, one here and 2 at the back over there. So after loosening these 4, it should come out. Ah, there we go. It's out. Yep. Finally, let's have a look at this beauty. Yep, that just did it. All the dust came out. Nice. This is like a dust collector. So some pretty cool stuff going on right here. The threaded rod on the lathe is coupled with a nut that is also inside the carriage, and that nut has some threads on the outside as well, and those are coupled with this thread right here. And then when the threaded rod is turning, it turns this nut, and this in turn turns this gear right here. And now it's in a disengaged position, so it won't actually turn the gear out here. And when I switch the lever underneath, whoops, like so, it engages, and then now it turns the whole thing. And you can see the handle is moving as well, which will move the rack and pinion mechanism and in turn move the entire carriage backwards or forwards. Now the mystery lever right here that doesn't actually move is actually to help lock the carriage in place by jamming these two half nuts together onto the threaded rod. These two are obviously way too tight even after releasing the dovetails, and I can see quite a bit of junk inside there, so I'm going to take it out and see what's going on inside. Oh, nice. Right, so when it's locked, it's supposed to lock this wheel in place as well, so they can't actually come out. Okay, that's pretty ingenious. There we go. Before going crazy trying to adjust this, I probably should start mounting it onto the lathe, since it seems like I'll have to remove this to get it back on the threaded rod. Finally works. Oh, it's that part right there. And I really don't feel like removing the apron again, so I'm going to try and remove this bit of metal. So there's still a little bit of play in the cross slide, as you can see, and the instructions told me to get rid of it by turning this nut. Yeah, so I guess that's as much backlash as I can get rid of it, which is sad. Now time to check for play, which is pretty good actually. And for that I'll probably try and use my new toy as well. Damn, that's pretty impressive. I think I can accept that. 0.05. That's pretty good. And look at this. Wow, this is pretty much perfect. I really don't need to do much with this one. So I'll just put these back onto the carriage, which Eason has so fortunately cleaned them for me, and call that one done. I always see this old Tony rubbing his lathe with his oil sign, so I thought maybe I should do the same with sandpaper, 400 grit sandpaper, and hopefully it doesn't destroy it. So Eason is finally done with the compound slide, and now let's put it back together. So the instruction says that to remove the backlash, I actually need to adjust the nut somewhere inside, behind this plate that I just mounted. So I probably need to take it all apart again. Right. So apparently I'm supposed to tighten this screw right here. Almost forgot to adjust the gibs. So about 0.2 of a millimeter, which is pretty bad. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Right, with the compound slide done, we can now finally move on to the tailstock. Pretty nice turn parts, and with the acrylic as well, which is pretty good. Oh, sure does. Looks like Eason is gonna have a better day. Only got 4 parts to clean up. So this is the position when the nut is in its lowest position, and this is when it's locked to the bed. So now I'm going to try and put the bolt in its lowest position. I guess I'll never be able to appreciate the camlock mechanism on the tailstock as much as the previous owner, because he was the one who modified it into a camlock. The original version had a hex nut over there, just a hex nut, and you had to reach in with a wrench in order to tighten the tailstock down, and that was very, very fiddly. So he later changed it into a camlock, and that is how we are now able to move it freely around and yet be able to lock it in very quickly. Oh yes, have I mentioned all the accessories he's given me? Look at all that. Some of them are even homemade by himself, and you can clearly see he spent quite a bit of time on the lathe. Well, I mean, he's been using it for 40 plus years, so definitely a lot of time. Without further ado, let's actually make a test cut with this thing, which I haven't been able to do even though I've had it for almost a month now. Nice, the cutting quality isn't that bad at all, not bad at all. I'll probably need to make it a little bit slower to make it even better, but I'll slowly get the hang of it, and I guess this process basically sums up what I'm actually going to be doing with this lathe, since I can't really see myself cutting threads with it, because usually I just buy them off the shelf. And the threads I really want to turn, which are for wooden watches, can't actually be turned with this since those are very fine. Well, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did taking this apart. And special thanks to Eason over there. And yeah.